So here we are working on our dummy hand, and I've got my brush, my favourite brush, Liz Gill brush, and I'm going to use this powder here, which is a Snow White powder. I'm just going to open this up. I use a Snow White because it gives a more, it's not so brilliant white. So I'm just going to put my white on first. I'll just pick up some white. I'm just going to place that onto the front of the nail like this. I'm just going to pat this out, and then I'm going to brush that backwards into the nail. If you get any hangover, just scoop it off, just like that. And just fade it up towards the back. I'll get some more. Just place it on the front. Just tap it out. Then just brush it backwards into the nail. Just keep your brush nice and clear of any products. You don't want a big bulge, you don't want it going back into the wrong place. Place it here. Oh, I don't know if I've done that one already. I think I did. Never mind. I'll just smooth it out a bit more. Tap it out. And then just brush that backwards into the nail. I'm just going to fade it roughly about 3/4 of the way up the actual nail. Just pick up a little bit and just build a little bit more there. It's really, really gentle strokes. You've got to kind of get a touch, a feel for it. And that's obviously where your experience comes in, at practicing and practicing and practicing. The old saying, practice makes perfect. But even after many years of doing nails, I can still make a mistake. So don't worry too much if you make a mistake. Pick up a smaller piece, pop it about there. You want it about 3/4 of the way up the nail, as I said. Nice gentle strokes. Barely touching the nail. So there's my white applied. Don't let it build up underneath anyway. We can always file this little bit off afterwards. That's our white done. As you can see, it's quite a snow white. It's not really a brilliant white, which I tend to prefer it with a snow whitey look rather than a brilliant white. So that's basically the white done. Now we need to let that dry, so you'd carry on with your other hand. Right, so now I'm going to get my pink. I'm just pick a bead up, pop it at the back, keep the hand pointing downwards so you don't get that flow back up into the cuticle area. And then I'm just going to gradually pull this down so it overlaps onto the white that I did. I'm just going to let that settle for a moment. Just pat that down. what's happening now is just drying a little bit, and then I'm just going to pull that down because I don't want it to be too fluid. So just keep the finger pointing downwards and just let it dry out a little bit, and then just smooth it down from more or less the front of the bead. So we're just going to build in this ombre now. Move down the nail a little bit. Keep the finger downwards and it will flow down on its own slightly. Then you can just pull from the front of the bead so you get that fading into that front section there. And you just want a gradual fade. Now there's lots of different ways of doing this, obviously, and you probably develop your own method. So I'm just going to go back to the back now and just reinforce that colour a little bit at the back, and then just pull down very, very gently. Now obviously working on a real hand, it's a lot easier to do because you've got the flexibility of the hand that you can bend it any way you want it to go. Take a little bit of moisture out of the brush, put it towards the back, just push it, prod it, just pull down to get that gradual fade down the nail. Pop a little bit more, and it's just picking up little bits at a time and just gradually coming into your fade that you're trying to do. Just always keep the finger downward slightly. Take some of that moisture out your brush and just pull down and gradually get your fade going down the nail. Always try to keep your front section, don't let the pink go too far down. Scrape it off if you have to. I'm just going back to the back now to just reinforce that colour at the back. Sometimes you'll see where it's a little bit uneven on the ombre that you've done, so you can pick up smaller pieces and just drop them in where you think you need it. And then just pull it down from the front of the bead to get that gradual fade down the nail. And I still feel it's a little bit light in colour at the back, so I'm just going to go back to the back just to give it a little bit more of a dense colour situation. Go to the next one. And make sure you keep your side walls clear here. Now on a real hand it's a lot easier to do, because well, I always keep saying that, don't I? But basically it is, because you've got more flexibility. You can turn the hand this way, that way, which will help you when you're coming to do it. Just shake my powder out so I get a nice flat surface to go into. Keep the finger pointing down. And don't be in too much of a rush, because basically what will happen is if the finger's pointing downwards, that bead will self-level slightly and just sort of shape your cuticle area nicely. Notice I keep taking moisture out my brush. Just fade it down. Of course, you could use a stronger pink if you wanted it more pink at the back. Going back to the back to give it that deeper pink. Don't be in too much of a rush. Just let it settle a little bit. It's important to get that deeper pink at the back. And you can take the ombre as far down as you want to go on the actual nail itself. It's up to you. It's your nails. You do them whichever way you want to do them. Now you probably notice on this dummy hand that the cuticles have split. It's a bit of a common fault with these hands. They do split after a bit, which is a bit of a nuisance really, but as you notice, I put some strapping round there. You can send them off and have them repaired, which is quite cheap actually. It's only about £5, but they have to go back to Belgium, I believe, which is a bit of a pain. So you'd be without one for quite some time, I would imagine. I'm going to go deeper in colour at the back. Let it build up into your side walls. Keep the front edge clear product so that you're not contaminating your white section. So now I've got all my pinks on, and I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of it. So I've finished off my ombre that I want to put on now. So I wanted to put a bit of decoration on the front of these nails. So I'm just going to get some liquid on my brush, pick up a little bit of tiny weeny bit of that, of the clear, pop it into there, and then just pop that onto there, just to get this little bit of decoration on the front. And you can place these obviously anywhere you want to. Make sure you wipe your brush clean in between going into your monomer, otherwise you'll have all little bits of stuff, glitter bits in your clear monomer, which you don't want. A little bit of a heart there. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky to get off your brush, but you just play around with it. Until you get them where you want them to be. Just like that. Get all that off my brush. Make sure it's. You could use, of course, use a separate little dappen dish with some liquid in to save contaminating all this here. Pick up little bits, pop it there. And I usually like to go up at a little bit of an angle. Now obviously every nail is different because it is nail art, so it doesn't matter if they don't all look the same. Yeah, obviously if you're using a glitter that's already got the acrylic mixed in, you don't need to dip into your clear first. So there we've got our decoration on there, and obviously you move to your next hand. So we'll just let that dry off a little bit so that when we put our clear over the top, it's not going to drag the pieces off. Right, so now I need to encapsulate this with clear so that we can file it. If you're doing an ombre and you're not putting any decoration on, you must encapsulate your ombre with your clear powder. Otherwise, what will happen is when you file over the top, which obviously we need to do to make sure it's all smooth and nice, you will file away your ombre. So always encapsulate ombre with clear. So let's get some clear powder now. Pop that onto here, and I'm just going to drag that down the whole nail and just encapsulate all of that. Now it's very important to actually encapsulate all of your glitter, otherwise what will happen is when you file over, you'll take off your glitter. Again, I'm using very, very delicate strokes. Now when you rotate your glitter in the light, if you see any areas that look bright, it usually means you haven't got acrylic over that. So you must make sure that you have got all of the glitter covered, so it looks kind of dull. It's took the shine away off it. Otherwise, as I said, when you file, you will lose it. That's more or less done now. And at this stage as well, you can look at your shape of the nail. Tip it to the side and have a look to see that you've got your nice arch built in. And you can always add some more where you want the arch to be thicker. Usually I'll put the blob on and then I leave it for a few seconds, always keeping it pointing downwards. And I'm leaving it now just to polymerize and actually set slightly, so that when I brush it out, I don't flatten it all off. And you can just pop bits in where you think you need it. I'll go to the next one. So let's put the front on first this time. Tap it round, brush back. Just encapsulate all of your ombre. Just make sure that all your glitter is covered up properly. Very delicate strokes, barely touching the nail. Just look at your arch, make sure it's there. Again, I'm going to leave it just for a few seconds to polymerize. Polymerization is when the monomer and the actual powder are working together with an exothermic reaction and starting to set. Big word that, isn't it? Exothermic. I like it. I do wish these hands were more flexible. Push that backwards. If you get any hangover, just scrape it away. Make sure there's none getting under there. Put my little blob at the back. Keep it pointing downwards. Remember what I told you. Very important. Just brush down with the tip of the brush, very, very gently. Just check your arch, there's no flat areas within your nail. With a small nail, sometimes I'll put the acrylic on from the side like this. Brush that backwards. Now you probably noticed as I come off the nail, I'm actually wiping my brush. It's just a habit I've got, and also it does clear your brush of any loose bits of acrylic that you don't want to get into the wrong area. Tap it down, keep the finger pointing downwards all the time so that it's not running up to the cuticle. Because the last thing you want is acrylic all over the cuticle area. There we are, more or less done, I think. I think it just wants a bit more here, just to even that out. You just got to keep looking at it. Use your light to reflect the surface so that you can see where there's any dips or straight dips that shouldn't be there. I feel there's a little bit of a dip just there somewhere, so let's get rid of that. And of course you're going to file it afterwards, so you can take any unevenness away. So basically that's that done. So now I'm just going to, I would carry on with the other hand, and then when this is fully dry, I'll be able to start my filing. Once your acrylic has set, if you want to check it's set, just tap it with something like wooden, and as long as you're getting that really loud positive click, you know that it's set. The first thing I will do, I will actually file up sides to get those nice and straight, like so. I'm using a 100 grit file here, and I will just check the end as well, just to make sure that it is in fact exactly as I want it to be. Then I'll get my electric file. I'm going to put on this safety bit here. Switch my electric file on. I want it running not slow, but sort of like about 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to go round the back. Oh, make sure it's not on reverse, which it was there. Around the back with my cuticle area, and with a safety bit it means you can get quite close in, as you can see there, without actually damaging the cuticle. I'm just going to come down the nail like this and just smoothing it out. Now obviously if you put your acrylic on nice, you shouldn't really have much to do. So you're just taking off the worst. If you've got high areas, you can use this just to take out your high areas. And I've got a medium on here, or a fine. Medium or fine is fine. Just go around the back. There's a little bit of a ridge there, so I'm just going to take that away. Come down the nail. I always support the nail underneath if it's a long nail like this, so I'm not bouncing it all around. Roll the finger so you can see the edges. Then I'm just going to come across at a slight angle just to smooth that out. So for the sake of repeating myself again, on a real hand it's a lot easier, because the nails aren't going to jiggle about, because they're attached to the fingers quite firmly. So you have to give me a bit of leeway here. Oops, see, it's coming off. Oh dear. Anyway, that's what you need to do. Just get the worst off. And then I'm just going to actually finish these off by hand now with a hand file to smooth them over. So basically what I'll do is I've already done my sides and my end. I'm just going to file over like this with nice long strokes. And filing in the shape of the nail. In other words, follow the shape round with your file so that, and you see how I'm doing that, look like that, and I'm putting my thumb here. That is to protect the cuticle area, because we don't want to be filing the cuticle area. I'm going to come round like this, just check it all over. And again, if you've got any high spots, you can just take them away with your file. Once I've gone over with my rough file, I can go onto the smooth side and just do exactly the same. Just take away. And just keep checking it. If you want to look at it, put the black of your file underneath and you can get a better view of what's happening. Once you've got it all done, I usually use a white block then all over like this, just to take off any little scratch marks and so on. And then it will just be a matter of applying our top coat. So I'm going to carry on with those now and we'll come back in a moment. Right, so I've finished all those nails now. I've done all my filing and I'm just going to top coat them, and I'm using this one here, which is a no white top coat, and I've got my lamp ready as well, and I'm just going to apply the top coat. Oh, one small thing, you can, before you apply your top coat, you can either wipe them down with alcohol or just wipe them down with a bit of acetone, pure acetone, or alcohol, whichever you prefer. Or your client can go and wash their hands, but if they go to wash their hands, make sure you don't use any soap whatsoever. Because soap is obviously made from animal fat, usually, and you will get some oils in there. So I'm going to get my top coat now, and I'm going to apply that to the nails. Move that lamp out of the way. So I'm just going to go up to the back and just bring my top coat down the nails, like so. I always like this bit because after you file them, sometimes you lose that little bit of shine that you had on them, especially if you've got glitters and things, or you're using a glitter powder. And of course, as soon as you put the top coat on, all the glitter comes back. And your clients go, wow, what happened there? And basically, or what sometimes is annoying is that when you're filing, your clients say, oh, what are you doing? I've lost all the glitter. And you say, don't worry, I haven't finished yet, it will come back. Because they think you've wrecked the nails. But this bit is like a reveal, it's just amazing. Obviously don't go over the cuticle area, which you must never do in all cases. So there we are. So I'm just pop those into the lamp now, and we're going to give them 60 seconds. Top coats always 60 seconds. So let's press 60, there we go. This particular lamp is a really good one because it's a rechargeable lamp, and it means that you don't need the wire coming out the back, and you can place it anywhere you want to. And this one's got 60, 30 and 10 seconds. The 10 seconds you can just use for freezing builder gel into position when you're doing gel extensions. 30 is some gel polishers, you know, you can just set them at 30 in between layers, but when you're doing the top coat you must press 60. But some gel polishers like 60 as well, so there we go. Let's just check those now. Yep, there we are, set, completely set. Okay, so the last thing to do would be to put your cuticle oil around the cuticle areas. I've got a Kaga cuticle oil here. Now all cuticle oils are the same, basically. They're just cuticle oil. Some will say they've got vitamin this and vitamin that, but to be honest, it's just oil. That just goes around the back area like so, and of course that will get rid of any little white powder areas around the cuticles. And then just rub that in gently. I'll try not to go all over the actual nails with it because it can sort of smear the nails and make them not look so good. So there we have our nails. Quite nice. So I hope you enjoyed that, and just have a go. Just take your time and just make sure you do your filing and your finishing off fully, otherwise you won't get the result that you want. So here's John signing off from the Professional Nail School and Beauty Academy. Hope to see you again soon.